Your audience, construct different profiles to personalize each attendee.
What's going on there? Hey,
there we go. Bang!
Welcome straight in. Yes, such a professional show. Welcome, one and all. This is episode 90-something of the ProSynth Network live show. It is just gone 7 p.m. in a very blustery and windy UK here. I think we're all, everyone here on the show today is in the UK. So we will do the traditional British thing and ask them how the weather's been in their part of the world. But it's been very blowy here today. And I will say that we've had 3 power cuts this afternoon here. It's been on since about 4:45, 5 o'clock, and it's been stable. So hopefully there shall be no more. But just in case I disappear, Ben is all set to take over. Aren't you, Ben?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a very unusual show if that need does arise, because I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll have a go if I've got to.
You'll work it all out. Nice microphone and stand you've got there, sir.
I know, yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's
You're beginning to look very professional.
Yeah.
Let me just mute.
I'm getting a little bit of noise on it at the minute. I don't know what that is. But I'm sure I'll get the hang of it as we go along.
Cool. How have you been?
I've been really good. Yeah. I saw yourself and Kent
on Saturday,
the other day, and borrowed some more things off Kent again. So I've got.
You know what it is, don't you?
What?
We're just becoming an extension of Kent's storage.
Yeah.
And he's getting it for free.
I know, yeah.
That's what it is.
I've got like loads of analog solutions stuff.
I know.
And I can't wait to get going on it, but I've got no leads. So I've had to put an order in for a load of patch cables, and they're arriving tomorrow. So it's going to be like BBC Radiophonic Workshop in here later on, I hope.
Yeah.
Well maybe not.
You look rather chilly there. I mean, has the storm been prominent up north?
It's more cold. I mean, obviously it is windy, but it's not like it is down south. But it's bitterly cold, and it's always cold in here. So I've got my trusty little heater near me, and I've got this outfit on. I look like something off Last of the Summer Wine, but I'm gonna get me guitar out in a bit, and hopefully we can raise some more money.
I can't believe that you're in a room with a heater and all of that gear on, and you're still cold. I mean, geez.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's not like you haven't got any meat on your bones, is it? I mean,
no, yeah,
you're not a skinny chap.
I'm a big lad, like.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that rude or anything. Anyway, good to see you, mate. Again, we must stop bumping into each other. It's people start talking.
Yeah.
Our current guest host, we can't seem to shift him. He's always there. Hello, Ken.
What? I can't help it.
It feels like I only just said goodbye to you, but technically I kind of did.
Well, you keep remotely turning my camera, and I'm just sitting here minding my own business. And then something like, oh, hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I've had quite an interesting day.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Tell us, did you power up the Kraftwerk vocoder?
Yes.
And did it emit noise, or did it emit smoke?
Well, it emitted noise and smoke.
Okay.
There's somebody has worked on this at some time between it breaking down in 75 and today, other than me, and has put some components in it back to front or missing.
Oh, dear.
So we're having fun. So I spent the rest of the day
playing fun.
Yeah, playing a DX1. Playing a DX1.
Yeah.
Another one.
Seems to be a common thing at the
Another
minute,
one.
Another one.
Another one on top of the one that was there on Saturday.
Yeah, another one arrived at lunchtime.
What's wrong with that one?
You're not going to believe what's wrong with it.
Same thing.
Try me.
You turn it on, and it goes. So that's fixed. And a CS80 where the bloke plugged the expression pedal in the wrong socket and blew it up.
Nice. So with the DX1, was it the same fix as the last one? Wow. Yeah. And yet my one that makes that noise, that fix didn't work.
Yours is special.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Power supply is out of that. I'm taking the switch to to my friend Howard tomorrow morning, so he'll have all that and he'll do the whole testing, and I will show him that video that Syntor just released, and they're talking about shielded wires and how that was making some noise. But that was quite an interesting.
Yeah, there was more hum though. That was more like ground hum.
Yeah,
mains hum.
Yes, yeah.
Yours clearly isn't.
No,
doing.
No, indeed. Anyway, good to see you, mate. Especially because I think the last time I saw it was about 2 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, something like that.
Thereabouts, yeah. That was good fun.
We should stop sleeping together.
We should, yeah. Fiona just gets in the way. Anyway, moving on. Let's introduce our very special guest. We've been trying to get this guy, and he's appeared on all the other shows. We finally got him on ours, and he's like a really prominent member of our community. We always bang on about the community that we have here, like all the people that we see in the chat in this show, in Nick's show and Ranz's show and Jamie's show and Dom's show and Kent's show and every other show. And
not a show.
Like, yeah, well, it is kind of a show, but he's been part of that community for ages. I've seen the name years, and he's not just a member of the community. He's actually a builder of synthesizers, and that's what we really wanted to talk to him about. And so we are beyond delighted to welcome Adamski A to our show. Welcome, sir.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing well, actually. It's been a bit of a strange day today, but got it in the end. Yeah.
Is it weather related?
That was a bit disappointing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've had some other shenanigans going on, which I'm not going to go into, but
Fair enough. And so we find you in your home, and behind you a lovely couple of pieces of equipment. These are the prototypes, yeah?
Yep, there we go.
What's the big one just there to your left?
So this big one is the O3M, Advantage O3M.
Okay, and the one behind you?
And the one behind is the O2M.
Okie doke. And apart from obviously one's bigger than the other, what's the main differences between the two?
Oh, there's quite a few differences, actually.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So
one's not just a larger version of the other one, then?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Cool. All right, well, we'll tell you what, we'll explore that in more detail a little bit later on in the show. But listen, mate, it's really great to have you on, and we can't wait to find out more about the 2 and the 3 and anything else that you might have up your sleeve a little bit later on.
Great.
Let's go 4s up. There we go. We're all here in the house. Welcome to everyone that's in the chat room, of course. You guys that are watching live are the reason we do this. We started doing this, March 2020, I think was the first ever show. And it was just after we'd all, certainly here in the UK, had gone into lockdown. And we were twiddling our thumbs saying, what can we do? And we said, well, let's try one of those live streams. It seems to be becoming a little popular. And here we are, nearly 100 shows in. And
wow.
You guys keep turning up week after week after week. I don't think we've actually missed a week, have we? We've always done a show every week.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool when you think about it.
Bad. Yeah.
And we do it from the, we're not a professional business. We don't do it for anything other than having a laugh with our mates in the community. There's that word again. So welcome to you all. I'm not going to go through you all by name. I hope you'll forgive me. But thank you to everyone that's joining us in the chat room. Please do say hi. And if you have any questions that you want to throw Adam's way with regards to him as an individual, as a musician, or as a creator of instruments, please throw those questions into the chat. And if you wouldn't mind, start that question with a big capital Q, and then it just kind of helps us pick them out, because we're watching all of these comments fly by, and Ben just can't keep up. It's his age, apparently. So Ben does a fantastic job of corralling the questions and throwing them into a little bucket so that we can see them. So prefix your questions with the Q, and that will help us pick them out. Let's just also get these little things out of the way. So first of all, if you are new to this show, and I know we've had lots of subscribers in the last couple of weeks, especially since Wednesday, since a rather popular live stream name dropped us at the beginning of the show. Thank you very much, Nick, because that generated a nice little wave of new subscribers. So if you're joining us for the very first time live, welcome. thank you. Where the bloody hell have you been these last 2 years? But anyway, look, great. It's great to have you on board. Please do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you want to know what we're doing. Basically, it's every Friday. Share the link with anyone else that you think might benefit from sitting in on one of these. And of course, can you like the video? As in, like, now, hit that like button. Apparently it makes a difference. So please do that. If you want to donate to the show and the channel, because we are completely funded by our audience, and we are so super grateful for that, because you've helped us develop a hopefully a fairly professional looking thing that's going on here. You'll notice that, you know, like Ben's got a new microphone because his old one was like kind of noisy, so we managed to treat him to one of those and get him all wired up and connected. So yeah, these little things help. And it also pays for the whole subscription service. So if you want to do that, if you want to help us out financially, then you can do that by donating to our PayPal account. There's the link. It's also in the description below the video that you're watching at the moment. But of course, the other method that you can use is super chats and super stickers within YouTube itself. It's a fairly simple process, and yeah, anything you can give is gratefully appreciated. You don't have to give, though. You can watch this show free of charge. We don't care. But if you want to keep us going, that helps. So thank you in advance to anyone that's going to donate. Thank you to everyone that's donated so far. We love you all. Finally, if you want to keep in touch with us, of course, we have the Facebook page. We also have Twitter and Instagram, and of course YouTube. And the handle across all of our social media presences is at ProSynth Network. So if you're on any of those and you want to keep up with what we're doing, or keep in touch with us, just, you know, at us, as the kids say, or whatever. I don't know. I don't get this social media luck. I think that's all the that kind of stuff out of the way now. So let's get rid of that. Let's go back there and let's see. First of all, let's get this stuff out of the way. Thank you very much to last week's guest, Richard Hilton. That's much appreciated. Thank you for your $5, and also thank you to Mr. Andrew Brooks. That'll buy Ben a patch cable or two. Thank you very much. He's gone in the world of semi-modular as his long-suffering partner said. Yeah, Ben's always been into semis. So,
never
anyway.
Progressed any further.
No.
You know, I don't know why.
No. You lost it. You're going to be lost to us now. You're going to be Mr. Modular, aren't you? Anyway, let's do some news topics before we get into our conversation with Adam about all of his work. And of course, there's been a number of things. It's kind of hotted up this week, which is interesting. And the first bit of news is actually kind of a sad bit of news. So Time and Space Audio, they've been going. They were like one of the first ever sample library distributors. I think it's probably the most accurate term, distributors or developers, but they've been around for donkey's years, since the 90s. And on the 16th, which was just a couple of days ago, this post appeared on their Facebook page saying, it's with deep regret that we have to inform you that Time and Space will no longer be trading, which is really sad news, not least for all the employees at Time and Space. I don't quite know how many there are, because it is an online operation. They don't have any bricks and mortar presence anywhere. But this is a really sad thing. And what struck me about this was that this is a company, an online company selling software, or more accurately, probably software licenses. So there's no bricks and mortar stores. There's probably no warehouse. There's very little distribution. You know, there's very little overheads, I would have thought, compared to, say, your bricks and mortar music retail stores. And yet, if Time and Space are struggling, what's that saying about the industry? You know, certainly that the retail part of the industry, it's quite disconcerting. And you know, I hope that everyone at Time and Space are being looked after, and it would be sad to see them go. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone's probably used Time and Space over the years. Ben, have you been a customer of theirs?
I have, yeah. Several instances of me getting Time and Space stuff. They were just the great libraries, and it's such a shame. I wonder what has actually caused it. Is it they haven't moved enough with the the times, the changing technologies, or do you think it's with the libraries and stuff, do you think it's maybe piracy? You know, people sharing without buying it.
I don't know.
It's very sad. It's very sad that a business like you say with little to no overheads, you know, apart from staff, like stops trading, or you don't know if it could be for other reasons. It might be like something, you know, like personal. I don't know, but it does seem unusual. You'd think that unless you've got like to pay a lot of people's wages, you think that you could keep running and running, and you know, but it's sad.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, when something happens like this very, very suddenly, having been on the receiving end of this on more than one occasion, it generally is the word I wanted. Might be even genuine, but it generally means that there has been running in the background some survival battle. Bills weren't getting paid, or taxmen were knocking on the door, and then all of a sudden the decision is made. Because if it's a planned thing, like you say, maybe the business is they're just winding it down for whatever reason. That would have been a planned thing, like they had closing down sales or whatever. This was just completely sudden, out of the blue. The website went down completely. And currently, if you try and go onto the Time and Space website, all you get is this, which just says Time and Space opening soon or coming soon, and basically it's maintenance mode. So it's very odd, and of course it's left a lot of people in the lurch in terms of their licenses, and some people. I did struggle to I read, but it does seem there's more than one person doing this, had bought stuff but hadn't yet downloaded it because maybe they needed to make some space in their computer. So they've bought stuff, they've not downloaded it from Time and Space, and now they can't download it. So one hopes that they've got some kind of contingency in place. Adam, were you ever a Time and Space customer? What are your thoughts on this one?
Time and Space, was that the guys who used to make the sort of like the sample CDs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I remember when I used to go to Tanky, sort of like and sort of
they had the jukebox there, didn't they?
Yeah, and you used to be able to go through all their sample CDs, and I just think that's kind of crazy how that's happened. In fact, funnily enough, a few years ago, one of my daughters, Faith, the school that she used to go to, in the preschool that she attended, one of the assistants that helped that actually worked for Time and Space at the time.
Oh wow!
Called Joe Taylor, and it's funny, we just had this crazy conversation about music, and then it came up that she said, "Oh, she worked for," and I was, no way, she's like, it's kind of, small world, crazy.
It is, but it's sad that a company like this is gone.
As you said, it makes you think the fact that they're in the realm of the internet as well, and they've gone under, so to speak. Just makes you think, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, it could be, it could be as Ben alluded to, it could be a piracy thing, but a lot of I don't know because I don't deal in pirated software, and I'm sure none of us do, but I don't know what the impact is today. I know what it was before. I mean, I sat down with Dave Spears once, and he showed me, he signed up for this service that many software developers use, that all they do is they go and find illegal versions of their customer software, and then on their behalf can instigate takedown processes and all this kind of stuff. And I was gobsmacked at the amount of instances of GeForce software that was being, pirated around the world. But I think nowadays, the copy protection on a lot of stuff is pretty good. But maybe it's not, and maybe it is that thing. But I've used to use Time and Space in the last few years to buy all of my Superior Drummer packs, because they always had some good deals on when the new ones came out, and they always had sales on, like once a year. But their promotions always seemed to tie in with the manufacturer's promotion. So it wasn't as if they were just doing it because they had to and they needed to get some money, and they were just going along with everything. And loads of people were buying that, and they had a really good loyalty scheme as well. And of course, all my loyalty points have gone out the window. But that's nothing compared to people losing their jobs. So they're the ones I feel really sorry for. Ken, any thoughts on this one?
I was actually speaking to somebody yesterday who's kind of closely associated with this, and it was piracy that did it.
It was. Oh wow.
Yeah, it was piracy. You see, Whereas has gone into a whole new world now.
Right.
It's a different world. It's not a couple of tasty geezers with a server tucked away in the bedroom. It's big business now.
And likely funding criminal activity
Well,
and other kinds.
yeah. I mean, the people that are associated now with cracking and Whereas in general are now part of people trafficking. You name it. It's got really, really dirty now.
Wow.
So the Whereas industry is more like, the criminal gangs are more like mafiosi and Yakuza type people. It's not some 12-year-old who's going, oh, look what I cracked, look how clever I am, and it puts it out a bit just to prove it. It's got big and horrible.
Yeah.
And if Time Space had a chink in their armor in terms of their copy protection or the way that the software is subscribed, then it doesn't take long to kill a company that's already perhaps cutting it close to the line,
Well, yeah. And as Rich has pointed out, and I know Rich has a continual kind of point here that he mentions a lot, and rightly so, because you get companies like Waves who have like everything's always on sale at $29, and so whilst that might be good if you're a Waves user, it devalues the market completely.
Big time.
Which is the likes of Time and Space are up against that, even though they might not be selling Waves plugins. The perception is, oh bloody hell, Waves plugins, they're really good, and they're only $29. Now you've got this thing by a company that's like a small one-man operation, and they're asking $150. How do you
where it really goes wrong, where it really starts to fall apart, is if you've got Waves doing plugins for $29. It doesn't stop the Whereas people from still cracking and distributing. So it's $29, because there used to be that argument where, if they weren't so expensive, I wouldn't use the Whereas version. And it transpires that that's not really what the case was. So if the $29 ones are distributed widely all over the planet and for easy access, then the expensive ones are more sought after as a Whereas product, shall we say. We use the word product loosely here. So it is. It's a really, really big problem. It's a really big problem.
Wow, that's interesting, because I honestly didn't think it would be that. But yeah, the fact.
No, I personally myself thought that it was like Whereas that's what people used to do in the 90s. Get over yourself. Yeah. And it's not. It's actually bigger now than it's ever been.
I remember I bought this is like in the late 90s, early noughties, I bought a sample CD on eBay, and it was for an Akai. And basically it said Akai string library or something. And the advert on eBay was, really, nice professional looking sale with a cover of something. And I was very green at the time and didn't really understand what was going on. I just bought this CD. It was about 10 quid. And I thought, that must be fairly good. It's 10 quid. If it's not, I haven't lost much. Turns up in a case that is, it's got TK DVD-R on it. So it's just like you instantly, this is not a professional product. Open it up and it is it's a DVD-ROM or whatever. Popped it in my drive, and there's a folder structure. It's not like it doesn't boot up and then says install. It was just like a folder structure, and there was what I had paid for, this string library. I can't remember where it was sourced from, but underneath it were a whole bunch of other folders. One was called Ableton, one was called Reason, one was called Cubase, and I thought, what's this? Are they versions of the samples for these platforms? Opened up the folders. Oh no, it's the installers for all of those pieces of software.
Yeah.
And I was that naive that I thought, what's going on here? And then there was another, like a README file, and I opened up the README file and it says, try before you buy. Please, try this version of Ableton Live, and if you like it, please buy the software. And I just thought, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the person who's distributing these string libraries is just, putting... No, it wasn't. It was cracked software, and the whole try before you buy, I think, was just a thinly veiled attempt at trying to legitimize it somehow.
Yeah.
And once I realised that, I was like, "Oh, get that off my computer." But I like you. I thought the Wear-Es scene wasn't a thing anymore.
One of the things that was, if you like, a sort of automatic copy protection back in the 90s and stuff like that is that people would produce like, you know, bulkware. So you get like a sample library that was say 2 gig, and you're on your modem trying to download it at 1.25k a second, and then it'll stop, and then it'll stop, and it's made up of little blocks. But of course, now that we have you know, fiber optic internet and stuff like that, and no, that doesn't work anymore. You have to constantly keep updating your software, and update your software so that the older version doesn't work with the new update, unless you enter the code again, for instance, which I know GeForce have done this before now as well.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop them from getting support calls where people are saying, "Oh, my Mini Monster doesn't work anymore," and they go, "Well, send us the code number. We'll see what's going on." And the code number is, you know, some crack name, you know, team 3 or whatever cracks and stuff like that. Go, no, mate, that's not a serial number. Yeah,
because wasn't there a case where somebody had got a copy of Mini Monster and they'd sent them a screenshot of because they're having some problems, and they sent them a screenshot, and in the right hand side of Mini Monster it would have the licensed user's name, and it was just like, you know, whatever, like the name of the Wear-Es group that had and you know, they sent it to GeForce, and GeForce said no. It was just
but it was some big DJ with the same thing, wasn't it?
Is it Tony Aoki or something? I can't remember what his name is.
He's showing off all these nice stuff, and
he's got the cracked versions.
Team Crackers.
Yeah. Jeez.
I think that's happened a couple of times, hasn't it, with people doing stuff on YouTube, and then they don't actually have a license for the software to demo it.
I think it's because it's gone so underground now, people don't think it's a problem anymore. But it's actually a huge problem.
Bloody well is.
I think that DJ guy explained the fact that the copy protection system of the software, which he did actually own, was prohibitive for him using it live or something, or there was a dongle involved and he didn't like dongles, so he just thought he'd download the cracked version, knowing that he'd paid for the full version. Well, that doesn't actually... No, I'm sorry. But anyway, there you go. So Time and Space are no more. If you are a Time and Space customer, keep looking at the website, because hopefully they'll have something soon to allow you to download, if you haven't already got all of your licenses and any other information. But fingers crossed. And any Time and Space employees that might pass this channel by, we wish you the very best of luck, and hope that you haven't been too badly affected by it, because I personally know that it's a horrible thing to go through. So good luck to you all. So let's move on to talking of free plugins, genuinely free plugins. Let's talk about this one. Now, this one is going to have a limited appeal, I know, but it's worth sharing this one. This is new for Reason, and it's well, let's watch the demo of it first. Let's do this one here. Let's play. So that's the Macro Multi-Model Synthesizer, and it's a Reason Rack extension, so you can only use this in Reason. But what it actually is this. It's a software recreation of the Mutable Instruments Platts module. So it brings that quirky experimentation of the original out of the Eurorack and into the Reason Rack. And I've had a go at this because I'm a Reason user, always have been, and this is really quite something that is completely free of charge. 16 unique sound engines and a really nice, clean user interface, and some of the sounds that this thing is capable of producing, it's pretty damned impressive for something that's free. However, it is restricted to Reason, and I'm guessing that nobody else on the show today is a Reason user. Would I be correct?
Well, I was. I was a Reason user. I had that Reason Plus thing for a couple of months.
Oh yeah. What's it? There we go. You disappeared, mate, sorry.
I was gutted that I cancelled my subscription because I wouldn't mind having this. You know, it looks pretty good, but it got me to thinking, like, what happens if, you know, like, you've bought these rack extensions, like you've bought them outright, but they're hosted in a subscription model host. So you've paid for things. I only used the Reason rack within Cubase. I didn't go near the program itself. So if I'd have bought these rack extensions to add to that environment and then cancel my subscription, I could have like several £100 worth of stuff there that I can't use. You know.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But as where is it? I just lost it. Yeah, Sensing has just pointed out, does this have to be free because of Emily's licensing? Emily being the person who creates the mutable instrument stuff. I guess so. I guess you can't make a profit. She shares she open sources the tech, you know, the stuff, and then I know it's been, you know, I don't want to use the word copied. It's been emulated elsewhere. So I guess that's the reason why it's free. Adam, you said you were a Reason user?
Yes, I do. I have used Reason, not the very latest version of Reason, because the way I do actually write music, and the way I use it is normally through Rewire. So I'm still stuck on a very old version of Reason, but it's one of these things. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But still, it's a very welcomed plugin. Rack extension, you know. I think the Reason software, since its very early versions, has gone from strength to strength. Yeah, and you know, it's one of these things. Somebody's going to find a really good use for it. It's just yeah.
No, as you say, it's a really clever little module, and so it's free. Ken, any thoughts on this one?
None.
No. Okay. No. Didn't think so. So. If you want to get this for free, obviously you do need Reason to host this in, but just go to the Reason Studio shop and then make sure you're signed into your account. You can find this and click on it, download it. It's completely free. It takes a few seconds, and then you can dig in and have a mess around, and then interact with it and the rest of the Reason rack, which is a really cool kind of workflow. Some people love it, some people hate it, but yeah, I still keep it around, even though I'm kind of more in the Logic world. I still use Logic and Reason. So anyway, moving on. That joke fell flat in its face.
I liked it.
Oh, thank you. Let's see, what have we got next on the list? It is yes, we've got to give this one a mention, because this is from Gaz Williams. It's the Cable Portal, the Eurorack cable router. So basically this was kind of Gaz's invention, but he went to another guy and they've kind of collaborated and produced what some people have rather disparagingly called a plastic toilet roll holder with some holes in. But now, see, this is where I'm not a modular guy, so I don't have this dilemma of cables draping all over my equipment and not being able to see them or you know, manage with them. This is a cracking little... It's a very, very simple idea. It's a plastic tube that is not completely sealed, so it's kind of got a groove in the middle, and then it's got these holes either side. And essentially, it just helps keep the cables away from the surface of your modular stuff so that you can see what's going on and play around and so on and so forth. And they're $10 each, available in multiple colours. As you can see, quite a few multiple... Oh, you can't see it on your screen because it doesn't show the drop down, but you can get them in red, dark cherry red, pink, translucent pink that is UV reactive, orange, purple, blue, aqua, green, yellow, translucent, smoke black, black, grey, iridescent pearl, and white. So whatever your situation. You can choose multiple shades of this. There you go. Let's show a picture of those.
Is there a transparent one?
Did they say there is a translucent smoke black and a few other translucent colours? So not fully transparent, but just translucent. But yeah, there's some that look good under UV light as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
Because I know that people that do a lot of these live jams are kind of in dimly lit places, and these things, because you were looking for LED cables, weren't you, Ben?
Yeah, that was just for me being a show off, though. I didn't realise they're actually not as good as normal cables because they require more voltage and can mess up your signals and stuff. I'm learning. I was just going to go out and spend 44 quid on one patch cable that lit up.
One cable.
No, I think it was a pack of 5 for 44 quid.
Right. Well, so given that you are turning into our resident Mr. Modular, even though a semi-fashion,
I haven't got.
Does
a
this
clue.
appeal? do these appeal?
I'll let you know tomorrow because if it's getting on my nerves. But what I thought was, I'm sure it's going to be great because it's Gaz and everything Gaz does is great. But I thought that if you've got like a load of cables in the way, you can just part them, and just look through. Like now, this gets in the way of the parting. So I don't know. I don't know how good it's going to actually be in use, but yeah. I might need it. I'll let you know.
Kent, you're not a modular guy really, but
no, that's why I gave them to Ben.
But this is a cool idea, though, isn't it?
This is a cool idea, and like most cool ideas, they're very, very simple, and it makes perfect sense. And I mean, if you watch Rand's show, and he's like digging around through the undergrowth trying to get to a control. However, as much as I love Gaz, and he's a beautiful, beautiful guy, but $10 each. What?
Yeah, but this
That's
is it's
no, but I mean, the thing is, it's like $10 for one little whatever you call them thing with the holes in it. And I'll be honest with you, you can buy that cable wrap stuff that they use in gaming PCs.
Yes,
and a pair of scissors cut them to length. The good thing about these, it has the holes so you can feed out stuff easily here and there. My only worry with that is if you have 12 cables going into it and coming out in various ways, and 3 of those cables are red, good luck trying to work out which one it was that's coming out the other end.
Very true.
Mid-patching, if you wanted to change stuff around. It's a great idea, but I think it needs to be taken now to the next level where funding could be applied to it so it could be more mass-produced, therefore a lot cheaper.
Well, I mean, hopefully this will get kind of picked up and maybe receive some investment, or certainly if they buy enough people buy a lot of them, they can then pass on those savings. I get the impression with people that are kind of heavily into Eurorack and modular that not that money isn't necessarily an object, but they don't mind paying for things that make their life easy or easier. They like these sort of tools certainly appeal. And Gaz, I mean, he's fallen down that rabbit hole well and truly. And clearly, this is something that it's a good idea, but maybe it's a little bit pricey to start with.
But maybe take the idea and then a license or sell the license or the patent, if we can get a patent for it, to somebody who or a company that can mass produce them. Because 3D printing them is that's long and laborious, really, for them. It needs to be plastic extrusion.
Yeah.
With a chop.
Let's talk to our entrepreneurial guest who is in the business of creating new things for people. What do you think of these, Adam?
Again, I kind of want to echo what Kent said. It's a great idea. It's a very great, it's a very good idea. But I think it's one of these things. It's like not the one hat doesn't fit everybody, does it? So I can see the practical side of it, the application of it, as it's almost like a Eurorack cable tidy, isn't it? If we think about it that way, it's like a cable tidy. But I think, as Kent said, if you get into a situation where you've got multiple cables, especially the same colours, you're kind of going to be fighting against yourself, going, oh well, which one was that one? You know, ends up blowing up your gear. But fair play to Gaz still. You know, I watched his show on his stream on, I think it was Wednesday, where he sort of introduced this, and like I said, it just seems a good idea, but it needs development. And I think they was doing it something to do with making it sort of like from a biodegradable material or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Let me see. It says here, cable portal is printed in high quality virgin NatureWorks Ingeo Bio PLA with industrial strength 3D printers. Whatever that means, but it means it must be good. And then Gaz being Gaz, you know, it would have to, you know, be environmentally friendly and conscious of all of that thing. So, you know, fair play to him for doing it that way, and that will obviously bump the price up a little bit.
Yeah,
but you know, maybe you know, there's somebody out there, you know, a la Dragon's Den, who will see this and say, actually, look, that's a really good idea, and I have the facilities that we could set up, you know, an extrusion sort of thing to produce this instead of 3D printing, and still make it in the cool plastics. And sell it for a little bit cheaper, but you know, fair play to them. I mean, this is it's a new ingenious little idea. I'm sure that Eurorack users will love it or hate it, and I wish him all the very best.
I'll probably consider it a godsend after after I get patching on here.
Absolutely,
I'll be like, where's that link for Gaz's thing? Right,
yeah.
Get 4 of them ordered.
Well, we've got Gaz coming on the show in little over a month. He's going to be on, of all days, April Fool's Day. He chose that date, I will hasten to add. And we're going to have Gaz on the show, so we're going to have him tell us all about this, and he'll enlighten us further on that. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you are into Eurorack and you might find this useful, really do, you know, try and support Gaz in doing this, and you know, maybe you'll be an early adopter of something that might then storm the market at much more attractive prices. But there you go. Uwin are the manufacturers, developed with Gaz Williams, and you can find those on uwin.com. UWYN. Is that Welsh for something? Must be. I don't know. Anyway, right.
No, it stands for. Can I just quickly interrupt? I think it stands for.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Uwin. I think it's use what you need. That's what the actually. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Nice. Cool. Well, thank you for that. And go and fill your boots if that's your thing. Let's see, what else have we got here on the news list. Let me just bring this up here. Let's talk about the copy box. This is an interesting thing from the guys at Moon Armada, who did those baby doll heads with all sorts of things going on in them, which I thought was rather cool, if somewhat sinister. This is the copy box, which is an interesting little thing. If I can get the video to play. There we go. Not the most dynamic of demonstrations. There are multiple demonstrations. I just happened to pick this one, which is probably the worst one. But it's kind of like a delay unit that adds some noise to it as well, and it's just messing around with the sound. But let me just bring up the web page is misbehaving, which is why I'm leaving this on at the moment, because I'm not getting the correct web page coming up. But an interesting little device, nonetheless. Their web page isn't working for me at the moment, which is slightly disconcerting. But there we go. It is from Moon Armada. It doesn't actually appear on their main website. You have to kind of go to like a retailer's website, and that's just not loading for me at the moment. So that's really odd. But guys, you had a look at this. Any thoughts on this?
I thought the demo wasn't really ever going to sell it for me. It's a lovely, quirky little looking box. Looks as though it's been to the same industrial design classes as Adam, I think. But
very wood effect, yeah.
Yeah. But, at one point he puts these drumsticks through it, and what comes out after the effect just sounds to me like somebody rummaging through a bin. It's like why? How would I use that? I don't know. And I get that it's a lo-fi effect with an LFO built in.
Yeah,
I can do that in software. So I don't know. I love it. I love its quirkiness. I think it's great, and I'd love a go of it. And somebody else might get like €220 worth of fun out of it and productivity out of it, but I just couldn't see what I'd do with it. It doesn't fit into my way of working at all.
And it's €219, which seems an awful lot of money for something that I'm sure is more than just 6 pieces of balsa wood and some plastic knobs. But that's kind of what it looks like, and I'm not entirely sure €219 sells that to me, especially also with what it's doing. Like you say, it's nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering, I don't think.
Not for me. So somebody else might be going apeshit over that now, saying, wow, I've got to get that. Yeah. But it's leaving me kind of underwhelmed a lot. Yeah. And I think it's quite expensive. So
yes, it is. Yeah, for what it is, I think it's quite. You can probably get something that's more, I don't know, dynamic or interesting for that money than that. I don't know. Anyway, Kent, what do you think?
Look, I don't want to be negative about every bloody thing that comes up, but
you're gonna be.
But here's the thing, right? I in some respects it's quite good, because when I have to repair delay pedals and stuff like that, one of the bugbears is getting rid of the noise that is generated on the echoes if they're turned down too low. So to get a long echo, the lower the echo timing is, or the further the spacing, you will get, it generates this hiss. So to me, it sounded exactly like an old Boss DM1, I think it is, that's broken.
Yeah,
it sounds like a broken one. If the new idea is to have generated noise built into them, then great, because that means I don't have to repair all the others anymore, and I'll be fine. Yeah. But yeah, the demo is not helping it.
No,
well, let's say it looked pretty ill with the demo.
Yeah.
But it was then shot in the head when I saw the price.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, for a little box that goes.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Not today.
You'd rather spend €10 on a plastic tube.
Well, it depends what I do with it, really.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, that's two kind of no's. Let's see what Adam thinks. What do you reckon to this one, Adam?
Well, funny, I watched this very, very recently, actually, today, and I actually had another listen to another demo where he actually runs a Micro Freak for it.
Oh, right.
Because I kind of thought to myself, well, okay, synthesizers is not always all about creating something musical, but I thought, let's have a listen to it in a musical context.
Yeah.
And it didn't sound too bad, but it wasn't nothing. It didn't sound anything revolutionary, or like you're saying, something which justified spending $200 and whatever XX dollars it was asking for. And the thing is, like Kent was saying, the thing is with these types of delays, especially if it's using the old type of bucket brigade device delays, is getting the signal to noise ratio spot on is quite a challenge, because you get through these chips, you do get sort of like aliasing, and you have the way they're constructed is a lot of the times they run them through an anti-aliasing filter and then a reconstruction filter at the end on the end part. So you kind of never get what goes in never exactly comes out the same, even if it has got that effect on it. So For an analog delay, it's a bit of a yeah.
Yeah. I've just found that Micro Freak demo. Let's have a quick listen to that. Yeah, it's not really doing much for me, that. I mean, I'm not entirely sure where the Micro Freak ends and this thing begins.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I mean,
where was the white noise coming from there? Is that coming out the Micro
from
Freak?
the delay.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's coming out of the delay.
Yeah.
So, the guy'd be on the phone. Oh, it doesn't work. Can you fix it? Honestly.
Well, I mean, the company behind this have got a reputation for building quirky things. They did the whole baby bots, didn't they? Let's bring those up, because this appeals to my slightly sort of warped sense of humour. This stuff. Where are we? I think, is it this one? Yes, it's this one. The baby bots. I think I'd love to have just one of those sitting on my shelf. I wouldn't use it. I would just have it there sitting on my shelf, looking sinister and freaking my kids out whenever they came in the room.
Very sinister.
Yeah, but then they're nearly €250. But I'm sure there's some lots of clever stuff going on there. But Moon Armada are the company, and the new thing is the Copy Box, which is this kind of lo-fi delay with an LFO in there. And I guess if that's what you like, then this is going to be brilliant.
If it's like almost like an art objet d'art kind of collection of stuff, I can see the appeal there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
hipsters,
old farts like me are not going to really go for it, to be honest.
True. Well, there you go. If you want to spend €220 on that, then let us know what you think, because what do we know? A couple more things before we get really into our guest, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. When we had Glenn Darcy on a few weeks back, he mentioned that, and I've just noticed that Ken Flux Pierce is in the chat, but Glenn mentioned that ASM had licensed their Poly Aftertouch keyboard technology to somebody else. And, of course, Glenn wasn't at liberty to say who that might be. Just this week, Waldorf made a small announcement saying that something was on its way, and the tagline is "Working Under Pressure," and there's a picture of a keybed. And I think most people have thought, oh, maybe it's Waldorf. And I'm sure Ken won't say in the chat. I'm sure he's sworn to absolute secrecy. But I kind of think that maybe this is it. And how cool would Poly Aftertouch and a Waldorf synthesizer be? I think that would be rather interesting. We've got nothing else to go on, so we're not going to spend a huge amount of time on this. But thoughts to open it up to the group?
I think it's very possible, especially with what they're hinting at there, the pressure thing. I think it's Robin Vincent who's wrote this, and he says that Waldorf currently don't have a keyboard where it has the Waldorf logo in the centre. Yeah. I don't know how he's getting that, because those keys there could be anywhere on the keyboard. They could be to the left. You can't tell that they're in the centre. So I don't know where he's getting that from. I mean, that could be like the bottom, A. I don't know. But very interesting. I'd love to see more people using the ASM technology, because it is fantastic. I've got the Hydrosynth myself, and it's just a great instrument to play. And the more synths that have that interface on them, the better for me, really. And
finally, Poly Aftertouch is a thing again.
Yeah, but it's what I didn't know the KX88 was Poly Aftertouch.
It isn't.
Oh,
common misconception. Common misconception.
Well, somebody said it the other day, and I thought, God, I would have snapped one of them up if I'd have known.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's not.
Right. Yeah, so I completely forgot what I was saying now, but yeah, it's great if they can. But what are they putting in it? Is it just a keyboard? Is it the Quantum? Is it?
I reckon there's going to be an engine in there, and it's probably going to be based off either the M or the Quantum. So that'd be or the Iridium. One of those.
Really
because they're all desktop modules, aren't they? The M and the Iridium and the Quantum. They're all. Am I right?
The Quantum's a keyboard, isn't it?
Oh, the Quantum is a keyboard, is it? Okay, right. Because I'm
Iridium's not too, isn't there?
That's it. Yeah. So maybe it's something like that. But yeah, should be good. I noticed that Ken Pierce has gone very quiet in the chat. He's not. Oh, he goes. Here he goes. Let's bring this up on screen. Here we go. He says, "I have no idea. Truly, I have no inside info on." Okay, we'll let you off then. That's what somebody who knows says publicly. I have no idea. Not at all.
But if he knew, that's what he would say publicly.
I wish they would tell me.
No, well, thanks for that, Ken. I mean, fingers crossed. Whatever it is, it's something new from Waldorf, and I think that's something that we can all get excited about, and hopefully it's something. And whether it is the ASM poly aftertouch mechanism or not, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Adam, Ken, any thoughts on this?
Well, I thought it's quite interesting now because it occurred to me today that if you look at the photographs of that people put up on Facebook, for instance, of their studios, and every single one of them has a HydraSense in it somewhere,
except mine,
except yours. But you're lazy. You should be working harder at it. You should have one by now. But so you've got your Hydra in your studio, which has the polyphonic aftertouch and the ability to send it to anything. So now, you see, Hydra have got it. They've grabbed the market and they've been first. Anything else that comes out with the keyboard in it is a little cherry on top. But you go, well, that's all right, because if it was a module, I can play it from my Hydra and poly aftertouch from my Hydra, and won't need a poly aftertouch keyboard. So now you're selling me something that I already have in the studio.
Not me.
There's that, but not you.
Do you reckon, Kent, do you reckon that this is a bit of a shot in the foot then for ASM?
No.
Do you think they should have kept hold of that technology?
No, it's not. No, they're not shooting themselves in the foot because they're going to make money from being able to distribute this technology to other companies anyway. Yeah, but the thing is, because because the HydraSense was first, that's it. It'd always be associated with that. So So that's cool.
They've got the kudos for doing that. Yeah.
I mean, it's good that because now there'll be more engines out there that are going to be geared up to deal with MPE and multi pressure and all the rest of it. Yeah. And that can only be a good thing, because I've been championing aftertouch since 1986. And saying, no, why don't you bring out poly? Go away. It's because it makes them expensive. We're not interested.
Yeah.
So,
Adam, are you thinking of putting a poly aftertouch keyboard on any of your gear?
Oh, I don't know yet. I have not quite danced in the realm of digitality, shall we say. It's funny because I was actually thinking to myself, going by on what Kent said. It's funny how poly aftertouch has never been such a major player in sort of keyboard expression, since the days of, the sort of like late 70s, since the CS80 and I've just kind of wondered to myself, it's in such demand, but it's never been something that's been brought to the mainstream, and why?
Yeah.
It's funny. Well done, ASM.
Yeah, I mean, like Kent said, the price of implementing it is pretty restrictive, especially in terms of the return, because you only ever saw it like CS80, DX1. There haven't been since the DX1. There's not been much.
Kurzweil,
did Kurzweil have it?
Kurzweil or whatever you want to call them. I'm sure they had poly aftertouch.
Really?
No, on the MIDI board. On the MIDI board.
Oh, the MIDI board it was, yeah.
But the Kurzweils themselves were mono. No, they were mono. Yeah, mono.
It's one of those.
It's also interesting that like there's been a bit of a divide about aftertouch in general, not poly aftertouch, just aftertouch. There's
exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Some companies seem to have disregarded it, like we don't need aftertouch, and actually removed it off like keyboards that should have had it. Yeah, and then. Then ASM go the other way, and it looks as though it's paying off for them, which is really interesting. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if these other two companies that have been.
I must admit, I was really surprised that it has come back now.
It'd be just interesting if they do a U-turn on it.
Yeah, because you think from an equipment point of view, because there are more and more of like module-based desktop type synthesizers, Eurorack, and this, that, and the other, that you would think that there's less people who physically play keyboards than there would have been, say, 30 years ago. And for it to turn up now is sort of like, well, brilliant, but guys, what took you so long?
Exactly.
Yeah.
As Ben said,
but it's welcome.
I've had conversations. I think aftertouch, whether it's mono or poly, is an essential part of a keyboard because it's another form or another avenue to expression. So you don't have much on a keyboard, velocity, pitch bend and modulation wheels, and then if you twiddling your knobs and whatever. But actual keyboard performance expression, aftertouch, I think, is essential. But then there is a school of thought, certainly there's lots of people that I've spoken to who said, bloody aftertouch, that thing that makes my notes wobble when I've just hit them a little bit too hard. And so they don't like it for those reasons. But like you, Ken, I was surprised that Poly Aftertouch was on the Hydrasynth, and I was even more surprised at the reception of it being so positive. And now everybody's talking about, well, it hasn't got Poly Aftertouch. I mean, it now makes keyboards like the Modi X, which Yamaha, having been big fans of Poly Aftertouch 30, 40 years ago, don't even put it on the bloody Modi X.
You can't be Vangelis without Poly Aftertouch. It's like
exactly.
You studied in your undies doing like a Blade Runner theme. You need Poly Aftertouch on there. Those drums.
Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, there's a lot. There is a lot more to it anyway. But because it's not all about trying to sound like Vangelis. But it's always weird when people say, "Oh, I'd love a CS80 because it has Poly Aftertouch."
Yeah.
But like yourself, I've heard people complain about, it's got bloody Poly Aftertouch in it. When if you hit the key too hard, it makes a wiggly noise or whatever and stuff like that. You go, you can turn that off,
Yeah, exactly. You don't
and
have it on.
And let me introduce you to the piano.
Yes, quite.
Quite.
But there you go. So something's coming from Waldorf, and it could very well be, although it could not be, polyphonic aftertouch, but certainly the tagline implies that it might be. But I don't know when that's coming. We're just going to have to wait and see. And of course, we'll report on it when it does.
Probably just Queen fans.
Sorry?
Probably just Queen fans.
Well, quite, yes. As Robin alluded to in his article, I just let's see, have a look. Oh, let's do this one very quickly, because in this day and age, any event that goes ahead is most welcome. Superbooth 22 is going ahead, 12th to the 14th of May in Berlin. Tickets are now available. You can order those from BSuper, that's BESOOPR.com, BSuper.com. All the tickets can be ordered through there. So fantastic that Superbooth is still going ahead. And I'm still harbouring a small hope that I might be able to make this one. Again, it all depends on financing and scheduling of dates and things. Because I can't go to NAMM this year because my sister has decided to get married on that weekend. And
inconsiderate.
I know, terrible. I did tell her. But there you go. No, so I definitely won't be able to go to NAMM, but that was always a very, very long shot. But Berlin, it's a couple of hours away on a flight. It's a lovely city, and Superbooth is a fantastic event. So fingers crossed something might happen. But yeah, it's going ahead. Anyone else hoping to go?
Well, Dom said he's going.
Okay, cool.
In the chat. I'm hoping to go myself. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, ProSynth Network Weekender.
Yeah, I'd have to come back on the Saturday, though, because I've got a gig, but I could go for the Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. There's plenty, and there's loads to do in Berlin as well. It's a cracking city. It really is. But anyway, yeah, there you go. Super Booth is on. Tickets are available now, 12th to the 14th of May this year. Get them while they are hot.
Didn't ask if I was going.
Sorry, but he just wants to make me feel bad. Yeah,
done deal, mate. Don't worry about it.
The local press came out when you walked to my van.
That's true. The neighbours were looking out the window, going, "Who is that?
Who is that bloke?"
Yeah.
No, I can do that. All right, don't worry.
So, one big thing, one little thing before we crack into our guest. This got to give this a plug, and it's well worth half an hour of anybody's time. This is, I guess, you could probably call this an addendum to the Bright Sparks movie. So the story behind this is that as part of Dave Spears and iMonsters' Bright Sparks project, which was basically to create tracks using synthesizers made by the pioneers of the industry, so Moog, ARP, and so on, Mellotrons and things like that. They wanted to speak to Tom Oberheim, and unfortunately they couldn't synchronize the dates. They couldn't interview him, so they had to kind of knock that one on the head, much to Dave's and everyone else's disappointment. However, things have transpired over the last year or so, and they have been able to interview Tom remotely, of course, in this day and age, and Marcus Lyle as well, and talk to Tom about his history. And it's about 35 minutes long, this thing, and it's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's available for free on their YouTube channel. And there's lots of blurb on the website about how they put it together, and there's lots of quotes there as well. All available on GeForceSoftware.com. I watched it, absolutely loved it. How about the rest of you?
I watched it. I thought it was fantastic. It was a great insight into the way that Tom works, and he's either business acumen or lack of it. It was great. Yeah. I thought it was, what I particularly liked was Roger Lynn's input into Tom's career, and it was Roger who suggested he re-release the SEM. And Tom says to him, like, I've come up with a load of improvements. He said, don't change it. Don't change it. And that's visionary from Roger there. I'd love to get him on the show if anybody knows definitely. Him and that, because a fascinating guy, as is Tom, as we all are, really. But
isn't it funny, whenever these people talk about their history, they all have, I guess it's inevitable because they're working in that industry, but they've all had a little influence on each other, because, when Tom talks about his journey, Dave Smith is in there, Dave Rossum's in there, Roger Lynn's in there, Bob Moog's in there. When any of the other guys talk about their history, they'll have had these path crossing moments with all of these people, and they'll have all had their little influence on each other. And of course, Dave Smith has been a huge supporter of Tom in recent years by issuing Oberheim designed instruments under the sequential name. But of course, the news at the end of this documentary is that Tom now has the complete rights to his own name, which just sounds ridiculous. Yeah, that was not the way it was, but that's just the way of the world. So he, as I think Marcus says, he's now free to put his name on everything and anything that he wants to make and sell. And so, fingers crossed, there'll be some marvelous things coming down the pipeline with that. Is Tom Oberheim an inspiration to somebody like yourself, Adam, being a synth designer?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, funnily enough, the O2M has filters inspired by the Oberheim SEM.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's got dual filters. It's one of the sounds that I've absolutely love. It's just magical. It just makes everything, especially even polyphonic. Well, this is monophonic, but polyphonic Oberheim, it's just got such a magical sound. The funny thing was, when I watched that video, there was so many little bits in there, but I kind of thought, oh, that was me. That was me as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On his sort of, his sort of journey of, sort of experimentation, etc. So yeah, it was. But like I said, it was quite emotional watching it as well. Really touching to know that he was actually given, his name back after it had sort of been. He'd kind of gone bankrupt and he'd gone through, all the stuff gone on with Gibson, and then he'd gone through doing the stuff with Marion. So I'm quite a geek. I'd known quite a lot of this stuff anyway, but yeah, I was just kind of what a documentary. I was kind of blown away.
Yeah, it's very touching and has a happy vibe to it because everything's kind of worked out in the end. And Tom's still there. He's interviewed in his workshop. He's clearly still getting his hands dirty, so that's really good to see. So hopefully we'll see some more cool stuff bearing his name very, very soon indeed. Ken, I saw Dave kind of gave you a bit of a credit for this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask him, why have you given me a credit for this? I had nothing to do with this whatsoever, unless he's linking it to the Bright Sparks film, which I did help with, and he's just kept it on.
Yeah.
But he didn't need to. He didn't need to. I
wonder if
I repair Oberheim. It's just about it.
So, I wonder if they'll edit that in and do a full length version now.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Because it was obviously the original intention. So nice
I think it could be edited in. Yeah, I think it'd be fine. Yeah. It certainly has the same vibe as the original Bright Sparks film.
There's definitely deliberate.
It wouldn't stand out at all. Yeah.
No. I just think it's great that these gentlemen who were influential and inspirational and pioneering, that somebody like Dave, and there have been other films as well that have spoken to various people, documenting and getting this history down firsthand, because I hate to say it, but these gentlemen are getting on, and we've already lost Bob and we've already lost Alan. And there will be a time, inevitably, that we're going to lose, the rest of them, and we need to have their stories documented. And so I'm going to be knocking on Dave's door soon, saying, how about a digital version of Bright Sparks before some of those digital pioneers, Dr. John Chowning, Peter Vogel, Kim Ryrie, Cameron Jones, and Sydney, whose surname always eludes me, one of the co-creators of the Synclavier, because we just lost John Appleton, who was one of the third of the Synclavier kind of developers. So we really need to get these people's testimony down. And if you look around, like Peter Vogel and Kim Ryrie did one of those NAMM oral history films. It's about an hour and something long, which is really cool. And then there's the Japanese guys as well. So unfortunately, again, we've lost Kakahashi-san from Roland, but there's people in Yamaha and Korg that need to be spoken to and get their stories down and put into because as we've just said, all of these people, their lives and careers intertwined somewhere, whether it was in a development world or just an inspirational way. And these stories are really interesting. I know it's kind of a niche audience, and that's I think half the problem is funding a documentary series, because I know that Bright Sparks is a brilliant film, and you can they put it out for free on YouTube, didn't they? And I think it's still up there. But I was speaking to Dave, and it was a labour of love project, and I don't think they made any money on that. I think it was never the
intention.
But no, it was. Yeah, it was just like his intention was to speak to these people and document it. But if you look at things like Electronic Voyager, which is the film that Michelle has made about her father, that we're still waiting for that years after it was promised to be delivered because of a lack of funding, because not many people are interested in funding a very niche film about a very niche subject matter. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but thankfully people like Mr. Spears and his crew have done something like this. So yeah, if you want to go and watch that, just go to geforcesoftware.com. You'll find the link there, but also it's on their YouTube channel, and it's free of charge along with the rest of the Bright Sparks movie. Now, I want to talk about this very quickly if I can. this is a personal thing to me, and you guys aren't aware of this because I didn't put this on the show notes because I only decided to throw this on like last night when I was getting a bit steamed up about it. So Roland Cloud comes in for a lot of criticism, and some of it is completely justified and some of it not so much. And I have been, I must say, for the last year or two, pretty lucky in that I've not had any issues that a lot of people have with Roland Cloud Manager signing them in and signing them out and having to require to be signed in every time and all of this kind of stuff. But I'm not alone in it being a pain in the backside sometimes. But for the most part, it's okay. However, on January the 19th, as it says here in the release notes, they released Roland Cloud Manager 2.6.3. And as you can see, there are only like 4 little things that they changed. There was a hot fix for it, and then they fixed the CPU usage thing, a couple of other little bits and bobs. And one thing they didn't mention on there was that they basically screwed up the concerto instrument. So the concerto instrument is what you use to play a lot of the libraries that were sampled from certain instruments. So they had a library called 1985, which was a sample of the I can't remember what it was now. And there was another one that was 89 that was sampled from the D50. There's about 42 gig of samples that you can use in the concerto instrument.
Right.
What they did in version 2.6.3 is they disabled the ability to store that 42 gig of content outside of the system drive. So up until 2.6.3, you could store that on an external drive and tell Roland Cloud Manager to go and look over there for those samples. Yeah. But not anymore. It's all been turned off. However, the feature is still there in the preferences. So you go to the feature, and because I loaded it up and I thought, well, it's telling me that all these things aren't installed, but they are. No. And it's been broken. So I contacted their support back in middle of January, and they got back to me and said, oh yeah, we're looking into it. And 3 weeks later they were still looking into it until just the other day they told me that this is deliberate, that what? this is actually I said it was, are you telling me now that this is a feature, this is how it's supposed to work? And they said yes. And I'm like, but you didn't say you were breaking this functionality, and you're leaving the function visible, so people are going to go there. It's very, very disconcerting. And then I got a message on, I think it was their Facebook page, because I mentioned it, because I wanted to see if I was the only one that was experiencing this.
Yeah.
And one of their representatives answered me on the Facebook page and said that they've got plans for Concerto, and they've got plans on making it a better experience, and this is a step towards that. But I just think this is terribly badly managed, and this is not what you expect from a top-end software developer. And I just wanted to say, this grinds my gears.
Yeah.
And that's all, really.
So basically what you're saying is that if you don't have the libraries existing on the system drive, the software can't find it.
Exactly. And it won't even work if you use aliasing. So I'm using a Mac, and if you right click on a folder, you can create an alias of it. Then you drop that alias into the system drive, and then it kind of kind of behind the scenes points it to it won't work. And I've been explicitly told by Roland Cloud support that I must move that 42 gig of sample data back to my application support stroke library, or application support stroke Roland Cloud folder on my system drive. Now my argument there is that so many people's system drives now, if you buy their SSDs, and they tend to be 256, maybe 512 gig, sometimes I've got a 1 terabyte system SSD in here. I don't want to have 42 gig of sample data on my system drive. I want that on my sample drive, which is sitting on the floor.
And if you got a PC that requires the more free space that you have on that C drive, the smoother the system runs.
Exactly.
I'm forever having to make sure that things are not, because it's default C program files. No, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I want you down on the D or the E or the F or the G.
Yeah.
So that's another nail in the coffin.
Yeah. Every sample-based product that I use, Falcon, Contact, God knows what else, has the ability to relocate the sample data. I mean, like all my IK multimedia stuff, and there's tens and hundreds of gigabytes of data there. I can stick all of that content on an external drive, and I just go into the tool and I say, it's there, and it's done. And that's exactly what Roland Cloud was doing up until this new release, where they disabled the functionality but left the option in the preferences. So I sat there for half an hour trying, to relocate the location and it just kept coming back as system, application support stroke blah blah blah. Most infuriating.
So how is this supposed to be improving this sample library by making it tying it to the C
I don't know. All Brian from Roland Cloud could tell me was that they are working on improving the whole Concerto experience, and this was a step towards that.
So they've broken it so that they can improve it.
Apparently.
So that's like taking a dead fox and rubbing it all over your car before you wash it.
Exactly. It's like breaking the china before you've gone out and bought the replacement for it. It's just like you broke the thing, but you're still telling me I can potentially do this thing, but it won't work because you've broken it. But now you're telling me you're going to improve on it. Why didn't you just wait until you delivered the whole new thing?
Yeah.
Have they improved the preset management yet? Or is that
no, they haven't implemented your ideas yet.
That's terrible.
Shocking. Other than that, I like a lot of what the Roland Cloud does, but I must say that when I'm up for renewal in May, seriously reconsidering. But there you go. I have a platform, and I just chose to use it to air my grievances.
Power to the people.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. That's my rant for the day. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all of the news. We didn't cover one thing: audio damage. Basic audio damage. Yeah. Well, okay, all right. Well, okay. Seeing as you put that face on.
Well, I went to the trouble of downloading it for once, and then we don't cover it.
Well, let's do it then. I
didn't do that much, really. I downloaded it. I thought they were great. I downloaded. What they've done is they've put the legacy products available now for free download.
Yeah,
you can see that there's quite a good selection there. I just downloaded a handful of them to try. I think I downloaded the pan one. There's a pan thing. There's a phaser. I got the compressor that the things are all about. What's dead weird here? What you can see on the screen here. This is my Cubase, and you can see that I've got dub station selected in the insert, which is supposed to be a Bucket Brigade delay. And pan station pops up when you press the edit button. So at first I didn't read what it said, and I thought this is a weird looking delay. But yeah, some of the controls seem similar. I thought it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
Even
at the top of the box, it says Dub Station 1.5.
Yeah, so I don't know what's gone on there.
That's why they're free.
But what I was going to say is you can't really complain because they're actually really good, and some of them I thought were very similar. Obviously based on the same units as the Arturia FX collection. Some like the phaser especially, and there's a really nice vintage reverb in there as well that's a bit lexicon-y. Downloaded a few of them. I thought they sounded great. The free, there's a couple of issues, but the free, there's no support whatsoever with them. But
no support, and they're all VST2s, which of course is.
I think that's why they've done it. Yeah, that's
well,
why they've done it.
It is a dumpster fire for sale.
Yeah.
But it's great. you know, and you don't have to
yeah.
you don't have to upgrade your DAW, do you? You know, if you like these effects, just don't upgrade.
Yeah, no, they break it. They break it, and then you have to.
Yeah.
But if you want a bunch of free VST2 plug, one of them's a VST3 because it's the Rough Rider one at the top there. But everything else is VST 2.4, and in almost all cases, audio units. Not everything is in that format, but no VST3s, AAX or Linux versions, no support, no product registration. If the product requires a registration code, it's provided in the zip. So basically, fill your boots, have a go, but be warned that it might not work at some point in the future. But that's pretty much.
So don't use it in any projects.
Yes, or use it and then bounce to audio.
It down.
Yeah. You're not mixing that again.
Yeah.
Are you happy now, Ben, that I mentioned it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice work.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Yes, I completely forgot that. Anyway, look, we need to talk to our guest. So, Adam, you you're a prominent member of the community. You're always in the chat rooms. You're always really active, talking about stuff. But you actually design synthesizers, of two of which are behind you at the moment. So before we go into exactly what it is that you've got there behind you, give us a little bit of background about how you got into designing synthesizers. How did that all start?
Right. Well, it all. I suppose it started from my kind of background as being a pirate radio DJ. I did that for about sort of 12 to 15 years.
What sort of stuff are you playing?
So I was playing sort of electronic dance music stuff, sort of older stuff like what was known as acid house, sort of the old house stuff, which sort of turned into sort of like Sheffield bleep techno, and then you had sort of what was known as hardcore from then, and then it sort of turned into what was known as jungle, and jungle techno. Lots of sort of break off subgenres from that.
Yeah,
a lot of the music, funnily enough, a lot of the music was a lot of it was sample based, using samples and twisting up samples. And at the same time, it was using a lot of it was heavily synthesizer based. So, but also having sort of, having a big sort of influence by music, listening to music more. I actually listened to more music than I watched television when I was young, very, very young. So that always kind of influenced me. And I always listened to sounds and always picked up on sort of, strange sounds, always loved listening to unique sounds and wondering how they come about, and then sort of incidentally discovering this was all a lot of these were done on synthesizers and sort of like drum machines and sort of electronic drum machines. So and then I kind of sort of come away from that pirate radio scene slowly and started getting into production, and I bumped into a guy under the name a guy called Owen Palmer, and I remember having a discussion with him one day, and I said to him, do you know what would be really cool if you could actually make your own synthesizer? And he kind of said to me, you're mad. Why would you want to do that for? Just go out and buy some Eurorack or something. You can customly build your own synthesizer. I said, yeah, but then I kind of thought in my head, well, it's not so much it was cheating, but it kind of felt to me that, well, you're kind of going to sound like someone else to an extent, because you're buying somebody else's modules. Although whatever way you sort of like, you configure that and put that on, it's going to have a sound of. I wanted to kind of try and create something which was my own and kind of unique, and at the same time, kind of, I was always sort of one to be sort of quite inquisitive into how things worked, no matter what it was, if it's electronics, whether it's nature, just anything.
Yeah.
So that kind of went past, and then I started sort of, this was about 2015, 2016. And I sort of went through a bit of a family tragedy where I'd lost my second brother. And at the time, I was kind of in the middle of sort of doing a few sort of like music projects, because, as I said, I got into a bit of music production, etc., etc. Sort of, had a massive array of instruments and whatever, and I sort of picked up the hobby of sort of buying sort of like little electronic components. We used to have a shop around called Maplin, which was a little bit like a Radio Shack or whatever. So this was kind of like when I watched the Tom Oberheim documentary. I thought, yeah, that was me going in there. So yeah, so it kind of all started with, I don't know if we can see that on the camera.
There you go.
One of these here,
yeah.
which was a sort of a bread pin board.
Yeah.
And I sort of bought a sort of small handful of electronic components, not really knowing what they do or how to put them together. And I sort of watched people like Marcus Fuller. You know, everybody who knows Marcus Fuller, he sort of, you know, he opens up instruments,
rips things down,
yeah, and on his teardowns. Because before, I suppose in a way, I was kind of, you know, if I opened up anything or I'd broken it, I'd kind of be like, well, I'm not touching that bin. But after kind of watching Marcus Fuller, it kind of demystified things for me, and it kind of, you know, put things on the level that, actually, well, it's not as complicated. It can't be that as complicated as you think, Adam. So I started sort of looking at a few videos, DIY videos on YouTube, and seeing how people had sort of done a few sort of small, very, very, very small projects. And I thought, I could have a go at doing that. So, funnily enough, my first projects I tried was trying to replicate a Jupiter 8 voice. Or actually, not the voice, but actually the oscillator, the Jupiter 8 oscillator. There's a guy called, I think he's called Tia Grinder. He actually made his own Jupiter 8, but he made a very cut down for 4 voice version.
Right.
And I sort of looked at his videos, and then I sort of went onto a forum. I think it was called the Muff Wiggler or something like that, or the Mod Wiggler as it's called now, I think. And sort of picked up a few sort of looking at the sort of the comments and stuff like that, and sort of thought, okay, looking at a few circuit diagrams, still didn't quite get everything. Like I said, you got to remember, I've come from no sort of electronic engineering background, nothing like that at all. Yeah. So I started experimenting, trying to put these circuits together, slowly, meticulously, sort of making sure everything was right, point to point, and having a little tester and testing it, not having sort of any sort of like proper professional gear to do it either, sort of oscilloscopes and stuff. And it got to the point I've actually built the whole circuit pretty much correct, but it didn't work. What I didn't realise is, right, okay, well, you have an oscillator, you have the voltage control part, but you need CV to trigger it. Oh, oops, okay. I stripped it down. As far as I was concerned, it didn't work. So, and then I tried another experiment. There was a guy called, I think he was called Pete McBennett or something like that. He makes something called the LDR series. So basically the filter was voltage controlled by a light dependent resistor. And I thought that actually sounded really, really interesting. And he posted a schematic of it, and it was something I had a go at, and I successfully got it working.
Cool.
And then I thought, right, okay, maybe I can expand on this. And by an experiment, I kind of found out, okay, well, what he'd got in his video actually gave you the sound of just a pulse stroke a square wave. And I discovered, if you tap into that part of it, that actually outputs a triangle wave. So I thought, okay, this could be interesting. And so I sort of had this kind of, not a VCO, I had basically an oscillator, sort of a free running oscillator, which you could change the frequency of, with a triangle and a square wave. And I can't remember what happened. I just had a bit of a happy accident one day where I put in another component, which actually turned it into a saw wave. Right. Very, very simple, very, very simple. And I thought, okay, so now I've actually got a saw oscillator. So then on top of that, I started looking into how do you do wave shaping, just looking at very, very loads of different, sort of circuit schematics, and sort of found out that a lot of them use very, very, very similar ways they do the wave shaping. So I sort of had a go at my own kind of design, or when I say design, sort of own sort of twist on what was there.
Yeah. And
sort of ended up being able to have this oscillator which had sine wave shape. It had from a saw, which now I know as the saw core. A saw core oscillator having the wave shapes to a triangle, having the pulse with adjustable width, and then having a sine wave output on it. So then I kind of thought to myself, well, I've got an oscillator here, but that's it. What can I do next? So then I had a go at trying. I thought to myself, well, maybe I want to try and put a filter on it. And I kind of had a thought for a while, what kind of filter should I try? And from what I could pick up, there was a lot of DIY projects of people doing Moog-esque ladder filters. And I kind of thought to myself, well, I wanted something a bit different. So I think maybe about a few years before, the Mini Brute had been released, and it had the filter which was a take on the Synthicon Steiner Parker filter. And again, this was something I was able to sort of pick up the schematic for, sort of slowly break down, try and understand, and sort of just put this filter together. Then I sort of picked up how to put an envelope generator together, and then things started slowly making sense of, right, okay, well, this is where you need to inject audio to get to this part, and this is where you need to try and inject a control voltage to. And then I tried to really think outside the box in my head. Right, okay, well, I can try and exploit this, because if this is supposed to take a voltage control here, maybe I should. This is the thing, again, not coming from having an engineering background, I was probably trying things that wasn't, shall we say, conventional. Or,
you weren't constrained by the conventions.
No, that's right, yeah. You know, there was a point where I asked a few questions on a couple of forums, and people come out with answers like, oh, well, don't be silly. You don't do this, or you don't do that, or come out with some crazy terminology that I thought, what? What are you saying, Willis? Sort of thing. So I just, again, like I said, I just kind of used my own trying to use my own logic and sort of my own sort of imagination. I got to a point where I did a small video and I put it on YouTube. So with the video, it was basically to say, this is as if it was on a couple of breadboards stuck together. I'd sort of amassed a few by this point. I think I had like 3 running oscillators now, an envelope generator, and 1 filter. And I sort of did a small sort of showcase of the sounds I could make on it. Nothing special, got quite a few positive comments. And then I thought, maybe I'll try and even show my knowledge of how I did this, because if I can do it, I'm sure a lot of other you guys can do it. And so I started doing tutorials. It was one of the big series. I've sort of done quite a long series of different sort of tutorials on my channel. It then got to a point where I sort of ended up trying to build another filter, and the second filter that I had a go at was the Oberheim SEM filter. And that was really interesting, because again, it was another multi-mode filter, which gave you more of a scope for sculpting the sound with the different modes, which appealed to me more than just having a sort of basic low pass filter. And by this time, I'd sort of, I think it had got to a point where I had almost 12-ish breadboards all stuck together with this massive components everywhere. It just like some crazy sort of city of components, but every time I sort of was becoming more successful, I wanted to sort of, every time I'd sort of made a successful circuit, I kind of cracked it, got it working, I wanted to sort of expand on that and keep on going. So I kind of got to a point where there was things that I had to sort of kind of battle with, where what I had done, because with a VCO, what you have is 2 parts to the VCO. You have the oscillator part, and you have the voltage control part, or current control, some people want to call it. So to have the voltage control plus the oscillator gives you your VCO. So I went back to the Jupiter 8 sort of style VCO, and I sort of looked at that and looked at the System 100 VCO as well, and looked at the exponential converter part, which takes the linear voltage in and puts it out as an exponential current, which gives you your musical tuning, and sort of put my own twist on it, and sort of like swapped components, and found that this wasn't working, and had issues with tuning and drift and etc. So it was kind of a lot of experimentation and trying to come up with something which actually worked for me, not what was necessarily, which was something which I'd seen in text or schematic, or which from an engineering point of view, it's a bit like cooking. Let's say, for instance, you look at a recipe, or you see a recipe, you think, oh, I might give that a try. You give it a try, and you sort of, it was all right, nothing special, but you might not, To me, I don't like bland food. I love interesting food, and not trying to blow my own trumpet, but anyone who eats my, comes to ours and has some food that I'm like, wow, I've never tasted, never thought those kind of combination of flavors would go together. Well, this is it. Yeah. This is how my mind always kind of thinks. So I just wanted to try and put a combination of different things together, sort of, mash the whole thing together and sort of come up with something which was unique. But at the same time, there was a couple of things that I wanted to sort of like keep in mind and keep true to the project, was keeping it a low parts count. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't too complicated for me. So it sort of, there is quite a lot of now there is quite a lot of parts to it. So I moved on from that stage of, okay, it had pretty much all been done on breadboard now, and I'd kind of got this whole working sort of board of components, which is pretty much a fully working prototype circuits of a synthesizer.
Yeah.
All fully working, voltage control. The tuning was, really good. I could get a good sort of like 6 octaves, very sort of in tune.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I kind of thought to myself, "Ooh, okay, well, there's other things I wanted to try, like maybe sort of, okay, this, I haven't seen it done in many just purely analog synthesizers, was trying to do things like implementing velocity." So I kind of thought, well, I looked at a lot of circuit diagrams, and again, it wasn't something which I found a lot of. So then I thought, well, okay, well, if you have, I sort of had to think for myself on this one. I thought, well, if you have a control voltage coming out from maybe, another source, maybe if I add another VCA, one can be doing the velocity part, and then you have one which is shaped by your envelope generator, as you do. So again, we ended up designing this voltage controlled amplifier part, which was basically a dual VCA. Lucky enough, we sort of had the convenience of having an OTA chip, which is known as the sort of LM13700, which is pretty much, you can have a VCA on each side. So that was good. I was able to use that and able to exploit that. Again, I kind of got to a point where I kind of thought to myself, well, how can I sort of make things a little bit more interesting than they are? I've got the pretty much the sort of the basics signal path of excuse me, of oscillator, filter, amplifier section. So then I had a look at sort of different wave folding circuits, and I found one which was very, very simple. Again, tried it, didn't work very well. So I sort of, again, put my sort of experimenting with components, changing the values, came up with a recipe that basically gave you pretty much the maximum foldage per stage. And then I sort of added another sort of folding stage and another folding stage and another folding stage. So you've got a four stage folding wave folder, which really gives you that sort of, it almost gives you a DX kind of twang and vibe to the sounds.
Yeah.
And I still wanted to try and take things a little bit further. So again, I went into looking at effects, and I kind of thought to myself, well, what kind of effects could I use? I mean, a lot of synthesizers from back in the 80s used to use the chorus ensemble effect, but it's one of these things. It's not the most useful effect on a mono synth. This was mainly used in polysynths, which gave you sort of, really opened up the sound. But I thought, well, it could be something I could just give it a try. And again, for me trying to sort of build my confidence up building circuits, so I had to go at, I think it was a MXR Blues. I think it was is it a Bluestone chorus or something like that? Yeah. Or Small Stone, something like that. Yeah,
Small Stone.
Chris Simpson would know that one. Also, I had to go at the Boss CE2 sort of chorus. I had to go at a Juno chorus. Then I picked up another chorus which was a bit simpler, called the Zombie chorus, which was I think it was a DIY chorus done by somebody. So I ended up using one part of the Zombie chorus and another part from the Boss CE2, and sort of joined these two circuits together and lost parts, added a few bits here and there, and then come up with my own sort of take on the chorus. So I had all that sort of kind of put together, sort of done a few more videos, sort of done a few more demos, started getting quite a lot of positive comments saying, it sounds like a really good, to be honest with you, at the time I didn't think too much of it. I just thought, oh, it sounds okay. And it kind of got to a point where I pretty much taken it as far as I could, and it was getting to a case where I just needed to tweak a few things here and there. And then I just kind of started making some really important, crazy sort of discoveries where the schematics that I found for, say, for instance, the Steiner Parker Synthicon filter all had very, very similar values. So, say, for instance, your doctor says to you, right, well, you need to take 1 tablet a day. I gave it 3 tablets a day. So, yeah. and an extra.
But this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, what's remarkable is that you started doing this with, correct me if I'm wrong, 0 previous knowledge or experience of constructing not just a synthesizer but electronic circuits. Is that, would that be right?
Yeah, correct.
And you've taught yourself all of this stuff just by trial and error, going out, building stuff. Does it work? Does it not? What do I like? What don't I like? And then just, like you say, you're concocting a recipe. You're throwing a bit of salt and pepper in, or maybe some chili or something, and you're tasting it. Yeah, that doesn't work. Maybe this does work. And you're just coming up with these ideas. And you're doing this without the restriction of the conventions of a normal synth designer or synth manufacturer that might have had, some kind of education in that or lots of experience in that department. They may think, we're always going to go down this kind of path. And you're just going, stuff it. I'm going to try something really crazy. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So it's should we have a listen to one of these things?
Oh yeah.
I've got you've sent me some video clips, so let's just bring this one up. Tell me, this is the first link that you sent me, the O2M. So this is just a bit of sound noodling here. So how are you triggering this? Is this how are you making the noise here?
So basically, with in this one, this basically has got the circuit, all the circuits underneath this sort of prototype box. It's basically got CV and gate in, and it's as simple as that. Yeah. So CV and gate in is just triggers from a key step.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, let's have a listen to this.
It sounded good, yeah.
Oh, sorry, we just lost that there. Hang on a sec. Let me bring that back in. Sorry about this. Slight technical issue. There we go, this one. There we go. We're back in the room. It's a really nice tone to this as well, isn't there? I don't mean this disrespectfully. Please don't take this way. When I first saw the instrument what is it? It's an experimental version of it in a wooden case. I thought, all power to this guy. But I kind of expected it to sound maybe a little weedy. But you've done some stuff that just sounds like any decent top level synthesizer you can buy nowadays. I mean, it had even just that basic demonstration. You can hear that the tone is there, the quality of the tone. It's brilliant. I mean, bloody well done, and that's just great. So tell us, you've got the O2M, which is this smaller version. Then you've got the O3M, which is the one behind it. So what are the main differences between the two?
Okay, so with the O3M, the O3M has 3 VCOs. The O2M has 2 VCOs.
Okay.
So whereas the O3M has 1 sub-oscillator, which is tied to VCO3, the O2 has 2 sub-oscillators per VCO.
Okay.
So, and all the waveforms again are mixable. So you can not only have to switch between waveforms, you can produce waveforms cross-trade in between them. On the O3M, we have a wavefolder and a chorus. The O2M doesn't have that.
Okay.
And the O2 sort of loses one of the LFOs. So the O2 is quite cut down from the O3, but also one of the big differences, the filters. Both the synths have dual filters in series. The O3 are both based on the Steiner Parker, loosely based on the Steiner Parker design, Synthicon filters, whereas the O2 has SEM based designs. So one of the things that I kind of always thought in my head was trying to do an experiment with a 4-pole. I actually did sort of an experiment on my channel, which was trying to do a 4-pole Oberheim style filter, where everyone who knows the Oberheim SEM filter is a 2-pole multi-mode filter. So I thought, well, okay, I'll try and put 2 in there, and sort of you have control. So basically, you've got cut-off controls for each separate filter, but then you've got a master cutoff, which basically sweeps both at the same time.
Right.
So you get that sort of, so you get a 24 dB, or you can have a separate 12. But it gets interesting when you start mixing the modes up, and you have say one in notch mode, one in high pass. You can figure out yourself. The combinations of the sort of filter types you can have are quite dense.
Let's have a quick listen to the O3, and this is as you build it here, a back to the 90s style mini techno jam. Let's have it, because I've got people in the chat room saying we want more, we want to hear more. So let's give them what they want. Here we go. This is the O3M. So have a listen to this. Oop, here we go. So recording a small jam.
was good. That
I just
very good.
I don't like to use too much profanity on the show, but fuck me, that's just so good. I mean, great little tune you got going there as well. But I mean, the sound of that thing is incredible, and I don't mean say that it's. I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that somebody who's come from no knowledge of this kind of thing and has just learnt it by sheer determination and a lot of skill, and has come up with something that sounds that good. Seriously, I cannot wait for that to launch and get into people's hands, because I think you will be a very successful person based on that, and there'll be a lot of happy people making great music. So thank you, and wow.
No, thank you guys.
No, seriously, I just wish that we can hope we can help you get this get people out there and get get the pre-orders, and we'll come to registering interest in just a moment. I want to go to Mr. Spong. I want to see if he don't look like that with your pull your microphone down. I want to see your mush. So Kent, look, I kind of want to get your opinion on this, because you are a world-renowned synth tech, and so you know the insides and outsides of these machines very very well. But also you've got your own plans on building your own synthesizer, and I just wondered if you had anything you wanted to ask Adam about those kinds of things. What do you think? And by the way, before you say anything, you have muted your microphone, so you are on mute. There you go.
You just deprive the chatties of a chance to have a drink.
I know. If I can't have wine, no one can.
Oh, I see. It's like that, is it?
It is very much like that.
Well,
he's on the beer already.
First of all, congratulations on being, like me, Adam, just a geezer who has managed to put out the best fecking demo of anything I've ever seen. Right? It's a brilliant demo. Okay? You went through everything. It showed everything that it was capable of doing. And I could also rock out to it as well at the same time, which was brilliant. So that's just the demo, right? That demo will sell those units. But I have questions. One question I'd like to ask actually is, what's the interfacing? What are the ins and outs that come with this girl? She's CV. Will she have MIDI? Blah 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 blah.
Oh, okay. He says. Okay, so it's all quite basic. It's all just basic CV in out at the moment. I have kind of done a bit of a experiment with digital, with digital MIDI, and this was, I can't remember the name of this guy. He sold these MIDI to CV boards, so I did have a go at trying that, but there was a problem where I still haven't quite worked out how to do some of the switching. So you can switch over from CV to MIDI, because things like the pitch bends, you have to. I found that to be able to get it to MIDI pitch bend, I had to chuck over a lot of things over to the MIDI pitch bend side. Now, if I can hold this up to the camera, each part of it is built into boards. So what I did was I sort of hand drew all the circuits first of all, and then sort of I had to learn KiCad. Now KiCad wasn't easy for me. I don't always learn things at the speed other people do. I don't know why that is, but it's just one of those things. When I did pick it up, I managed to get in contact with a guy from America who was able to convert these my schematics into Gerber, into another software which we could get into Gerber files and then get PCBs for. So if you see here, we've got an oscillator PCB. Now, the way this works is you've got every single option or control on these on the PCB, and it's just down to how you populate it will give you what you have on the control interface, because on the O3M, the first oscillator, second oscillator, and the third oscillator all had slightly different tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah.
But everything is on these. So there's 3 of these oscillator PCBs in there, and you just output at different parts, or you don't populate so much, or you populate one part to give you what you have on the face of it. Now, what I also added quite recently was patchability. So, like on, I'm not sure if Robbie can bring up one of the photos that I sent him, where it actually has.
I don't think Robbie can at the minute. He seems to have dropped out of the chat for the moment. But I'll try and keep things running till he gets back.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So what we actually have along the top of here is patch points. So we can interface through MIDI and CV control, basically. So we've got all patch points on here. I also did something with the amplifier section where you can actually have velocity going to it, or you can turn that on and you can turn that off. There's also sort of other sort of little twists that I put on it, was doing cross modulation. So you have FM between the 3 oscillators. I mean, at the moment, the first thing I did was to basically use a very basic sort of FM algorithm. This was through sort of like learning through DX7 and a few other FM synths that I own, and sort of working out how they did their algorithms, what's the carrier, what's the modulator, and putting a very sort of basic analog sort of FM implementation. So, and then one other little trick that I sort of did, but I haven't really seen, was doing the feedback loop.
Yeah.
Where you have a feedback loop. So I did the feedback loop, which, really does give you, again, more sort of scope for sound sculpting. And then I thought, well, actually, wouldn't it be an idea if you could actually break out from the hardwired parts, patchability, and then you can really go to town on sort of mixing up things. But also, with the VCA board, although you have a dual VCA, so to speak, it's almost like you have 4 VCAs on one board. So what I did was, again, I broke out of that VCA board, and you've got another one, so you can use that as like a utility VCA to patch things through and add control voltage,
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of units knocking about that would... external units that would allow the MIDI to be converted to various CV channels anyway. So that's cool. It wouldn't be absolutely necessary that you had, MIDI sockets on the back end and all that sort of thing. So it's fine. But listening to the sounds and stuff like that. When you said about you have the filters in series.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a facility there to be able to do parallel as well, or is it's actually physically built as a series of filters?
Okay. So again, this was something I couldn't really sort of get my head around, was actually being able to get a way of switching. Because this is one thing I would have loved to do, was to be able to do this. Again, it's something I'll possibly do in the future, to be able to get both synths to be able to, if you've got dual filters, to be able to have switching from parallel series, and even sort of like a bypass mode, with a lot with the sort of like the Dreadbox stuff.
Yeah.
Which was quite inspirational for me. It was something like, I sort of had a listen to the tone of those synthesizers and thought, wow, they just sound absolutely amazing. So at the moment, we have it in series, but in the future, like I said, it's something I'm planning to try and get my head around with the series, so you can have the option to switch between series and parallel.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be pretty
your question-ish?
Yeah, it does actually. It's like it's sort of like copyright infringement on the anaglyph. Yeah, but which is a brilliant move. I mean, it's surprising, because one of the main filters in the anaglyph is to use Steiner Parkers, and then to have one of them is Steiner Parker, one of them is ARP 2500.
Yeah.
You can have them series or parallels and stuff like that on each voice. And then there's I think it's 5 different types of filters altogether, and it gets a bit mental. But the incredible thing is that you've literally started from absolute bare ass nothing and learnt it and built it from literally the ground up.
Yeah.
And it's bringing you along for the journey as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're sort of learning, you go, and as you learn and you implement, and as you try to implement, you learn more and then reapply it. And this is why, I mean, it kind of sounds like other synthesizers, but it also sounds like its own synthesizer as well. Because you can hear, the Adam in there, as well as the influences of what you were thinking it should sound like in terms of in relationship to other synthesizers.
Yeah.
And I mean, when that bit where you bring in the I think it's the sine, wasn't it? Bring in the sine wave on VCO1, you get that real deep bass come up.
Oh yeah, it's a triangle.
Yeah, and it was and it was it's triangle, yeah. And it's pointy sine, isn't it? Really. So, and when that come up, and it was like, holy shit, this is a winner.
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah. So, another question is, so come on then, when can we have them? What do you need? What do you need, dude?
This has been the question on everybody's lips thrown at me. So basically, it's a case of, at the moment, I have a landing page, something that Robbie had, which I was hoping he was able to show, where you can go and register your interest. I'm hoping to get enough people to be able to do a very, very, very possible limited run at the moment. That's all I want to say at the moment. Yeah, so sure. I don't think there's any point of me doing this if just a few people who are just saying, oh, well, I possibly want one. You've got to be definitely, I want one, and I'm there. And I will do what I have to do to make it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Well, the thing is, when you listen to the machine, it's not going to be a biggie to ask people to, who want to buy this machine to just strump up that money first. It's not a biggie.
Yeah, I think you could definitely get pre-orders in like that. There's been a few inquiries from the chat, like, when's it coming out? Can we volunteer as beta testers and all this? So, what are your plans to the next stage? What how are you going to go about that?
So what I'm planning to do at the moment is to basically finalize some of the actual internal designs and make sure everything is 100% bang on. I mean, I'm glad to an extent I haven't actually rushed into this, because I think about sometime earlier this week I actually made quite an important discovery, which which was something which really bugged me, where I had a problem with CV offset. And it really kind of bugged me and kind of pissed me off to an extent where I could not get my head around it. And then I, again, sort of tried to think out the box. Right, well, maybe if I try and send the signal over to that way, what happens? And I've finally managed to sort of, squash that that bugbearer there. So it's one of these things, as much as, there's a lot of love out there, a lot of people, asking for this to come to manufacturing. But what I think I will do, I plan to do, is to do this as a limited run. I don't think it's something I really want to push out into mainstream to be like another Roland, like another Yamaha, or even to go as far as what Dreadbox is now. That's no sort of disrespect or not, taking away. But I think the less there is, the more value these guys will hold, to an extent.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people have asked, would you do the actual, because obviously, like I said, the boards themselves are kind of sort of to an extent in a kind of modular format. This is what was this one? This is an SEM style filter board. I can do sort of things, would I do things in sort of like a Eurorack format? So again, that is something which is a very, very, very possibility, or even doing them sort of like MU format as well. So, personally, I would like to sort of do it all if I can at some stage, do it all, but one step at a time,
Yeah.
What do you think that the say if you could release these out into the wild now? What would be the price tag on say like the two that you've got there? What would you estimate it'd be around?
You're asking a very dangerous question, Ben.
just an estimate. We won't hold you to it.
I'm to be honest with you, I'm not really going to answer that question
directly.
But what I will say is they won't be cheap.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah,
because of it's one of these things, because of they're quite bespoke to an extent, and it's quite again, there's still a bit of and ahhing about design choice of certain components, because it's a bit like, say for instance, somebody gives you a recipe and says, right, okay, so for this dish you need such and such, such and such, such and such. Okay, but within those different separate ingredients, you can get different quality. You can buy different quality. Some say, oh, you need some olive oil. You can buy a sort of £3 bottle of olive oil, or you can go and get yourself, a £50 bottle of olive oil. So it's one of these things that I need to look at the quality of the components going in, and being able to see, whether or not they are going to be a sustainable, what's the word? Can't think of it. Whether or not they're going to be actually sort of viably sustainable to be able to get hold of. Because, I mean, at the moment, obviously, with how economics are and how the sort of world is, there's a lot of unpredictable things going around at the moment. So, and obviously with the shortage of things on a lot of levels, I think diving into the ocean right now may not be the greatest of moves. So I think I'm going to hold back for a little bit.
Very sensible,
yeah. Then,
yeah. Although that said, when we were doing the controller, people were constantly asking us how much it was going to be. And we made the error of giving a price that we thought it was going to come to, like you're saying, without really running the numbers on the product, including the box and the bag the thing was wrapped up in, and the foam protection and stuff. And the thing is, as far as bespoke built equipment is concerned, I think a lot of people have a feel for what that is and what is in. People are more aware of what's involved with these kind of products. So, I mean, like with Tom Carpenter, when he was releasing some of his first stuff, people thought it was quite expensive. But that's because they didn't really understand the amount of stuff behind it, because you're not buying the parts in large quantities, so you don't get the cheaper prices, etc., etc., etc. So, it will be a case of we will probably need to, like you say, run the numbers on how much it actually physically costs to make one, or how much you can make one for. Then the little bits and the stuff and everything else that's involved with that. But I mean, I think I know roughly how much the 003 will cost. Running the the parts and what they're kind of worth and everything like that in the box. And I think I know how much roughly, and I think that'll be fine. By the way, it will be all right. It will be all right.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions in the chat. I thought I'd get to these. Synthetic says, great guy and story, curious about the card system and love the sound now, but is he considering filter card options for different signal paths later?
That's interesting. Yeah. Thanks, Synth Addict.
You'd have to change the way the boards are now.
I'm just because there was a company that did something like that, didn't they? I can't think of who they were. So they did something where you could actually swap the filter boards out.
Yeah.
It's a possibility, but I think it may be more hassle than it's worth. It may be more hassle than it's worth, or maybe it could be a case that, say, for instance, you wanted an 03M, but you wanted SEM boards, SEM filters in it. You could have that as an option, or you could have the O2 with Steiner filters in it. Or if I managed to do another design, it could be that one. So, as opposed to, but you wouldn't really, rather than making it something you can swap out, plug and play, it would be,
Yeah. How about if you had audio in-outs amongst your breakouts on the back?
Yeah.
And then you could make your filter as a separate unit and do the audio out from the VCOs into the filter and out and back in, and then into the rest of the path of the seal, and do it that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, like I said, that was actually something I was kind of planning to kind of try and do in my head. Like I said, where you could have a point where you could actually bypass. You could literally take the waveforms out raw from the oscillators, bypass, and then actually have the option to run them straight through to the VCA. In which case you could break out through patchability and go through whichever signal path you chose. So you can either go through one filter or go through the second filter or go straight to the VCA. So again, it's something which is very possible. My mind is always going ding, 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 trying to think of something. Yeah,
exactly.
There's a suggestion from Sasquatch here. Just do each module on a 100 by 100 card and supply the schematics for each. We're messing with his project here.
Two words: intellectual property.
Yeah.
Mind you, one suggestion: you talked about the waveforms coming out pure. Have the options to at least do it with the triangle.
Yeah.
To bypass the filters and do it like the 80, and that will give you some deep bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, really big.
Yeah,
really big.
Yeah. Because at the moment, what you have is a 1, 2, 3. There's about 27 patch points on it, on the 03. I can't quite lift it up to show you. It's quite a heavy unit. So you can actually sort of take all the actual individual waveforms out from each oscillator. And also you have sort of external modulation capability on each oscillator as well. So when you're in the off position, you're actually off stroke external. Whereas when you go on, you're in a sort of, you have a selectable part to go. So you can either say so oscillator 1 picks up LFO1, oscillator 2 picks up LFO2, but oscillator 1 picks up LFO1. Or envelope 1. But when you go into the external mode to turn all the modulation off, that's when you're able to patch in from any other source throughout the synth, which sends a control voltage or signal out, and patch in that way. So you can sort of, go beyond what's actually hardwired.
Yeah,
it's really interesting when you start doing things like. Just kind of like how can we say, almost like a sort of double sync kind of mode, where at the moment VCO1 is hardwired, is synchronized by VCO2. However, we can use, I think it's either sync VCO3 with VCO1 or vice versa. So, when you've got all that going on at once, you start to,
Got another question there from Mark. He's asking about the filter on the bass end. Is it compensated resonance?
No. Let me just try and show you what happens if I can. Okay. Right, okay. Microphone here. So So what happens here, because the filter design uses positive feedback, you don't actually lose. Right, let me just take that. Right, that's a little bit too high. Let's just take that out. So that's your basic waveform. When we add the resonance here, when we add the resonance. Yeah, you lose a very small bit of the fundamental, but not much at all. This is actually one of the things I actually because the actual Steiner Parker itself naturally can sound very squally and can go very, very much out of control. Anybody who's had a synthesizer with a Steiner Parker type filter on it knows how unruly they can get. But I've managed to sort of do enough tweaks to tame it. Yes. And like the Moog filter, you don't actually lose the sort of ladder filter design, transistor ladder filter design. You don't lose that bass end, but what you do get is a bit of distortion, which is sometimes welcome. So it's one of these things, depending on how hard you drive the filter, gives you a different character every time. You can get quite a polite sort of sounding, very milky, very sort of wet sounding filter, or you can get it to be quite aggressive. So you've got all that scope from those two ends of the spectrum and everything in between.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, actually. Yeah, because we've got a Steiner Parker here, and they can kill speakers.
Yeah.
Without you try, you turn it too much too far, and it's like poof, it's paper all over the place. Yeah. Big holes where cones used to be.
Yeah, Mac had another question about the. I'm not sure if you touched on this earlier because it was round about the time that Robbie dropped out of the chat, and I just like. Right. I was like a rabbit in the headlights for a little bit. But Matt wanted to know, does the component shortage have any bearing on your project, Adam?
Yes, as I did mention, that it's something that I did actually am taken into consideration right now. I think the economy and everything else is going. I don't want to get into politics and all the rest of it, but I think we're in a little bit of unpredictability at the moment. So I wouldn't want to sort of throw myself into a position where I've sort of costed something and then tomorrow everything costs double, and then I've kind of shot myself in the arse or left a bunch of disappointed customers.
Yeah.
So I think everything it does, whether I like it or not, it will have, it will have an effect.
Yeah. Well, I'm very pleased to say that Rob's managed to rejoin us. So I'm gonna have a word with him now. See if I don't think he's got control of anything. So I think that responsibility still rests on my shoulders. But hello, Rob, and welcome back.
Thank you, Ben. It's very nice to be here, and I'm off again. I'll see you later.
So he couldn't stay, but as you can see, he's changed his voice and he looked quite healthy. So you're happy there?
Yeah, I see that new Virgin Internet he's got is really paying off.
Yeah. We can blame the storms for that. I'm really enjoying this, but I'm also kind of terrified, and I'm a bit worried about the time. So I think we'll have to get you back on, Adam, because we want to see how this project develops. And there's been loads of great comments. There's like Ken Flux Pierce has said that he loves the large format of it. Matt wanted to know what have been the developments that have happened specifically since you was on Ramsey's show. And Sasquatch is very keen, as you probably know, about getting his hands on one and wants to be a beta tester. So loads of love for the project here, and I think they sound great. I think that like Kent said before, and like you said yourself, like you've got no previous background in this whatsoever, and you've come up with something that sounds as good as anything else, if not better than a lot of things. And it's credit to you, though. The way your perseverance in this is exceptional, and good on you. I can't wait to see where this goes. And if it's if they're not like 18 grand each, like put me down for one myself.
Don't be cheap.
Get to.
Are they going to have? Is the final version going to have MIDI on and that? Is that the intention, or are you keeping it CV based?
At the moment, everything is 100% digital. It's 100% analog. Sorry, everything's analog. I think once I start bringing in the MIDI side of it, I'm going to slightly not completely, but I'll probably start to complicate things, and it may slightly throw price and possibly designs of certain parts I may have to go back to the drawing board with again. Do you know what I mean? I think as it is at the moment, I think I've pretty much got that cake perfect in my head. I think adding things like MIDI and stuff is very welcomed as an idea, but I think at the moment I'm gonna try and stick to the formula and the format it is now.
It's just so
Well, Kenton are bringing out a new Pro 3000.
Right, okay.
So that has multiple outs to give you control over filters and stuff like that as well from that unit. So, like you say, leave it to another company to supply the control that she needs. Mind you, I probably shouldn't have said about that, should I?
Why?
Probably shouldn't have said. Oops. Me and my big trousers.
We'll edit it out. We'll edit that out.
Cut that out. Yeah. I didn't say that.
We'll just have a acid face over you for that portion of the show. Talk about dogs or something for a minute. Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna just for my own sanity. I'm gonna wrap things up now. But Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We will definitely have you back if you want to come back. Kent, it's a pleasure as always. Thanks to the moderators in the chat that have done a sterling job as ever. That one time we had a bit of bother. The moderators have come in and took charge of everything, and it's all run perfectly since that. So they're doing a great job. So thanks for that. Thanks to everybody who joined us on the chat. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week with some other person. I don't know who it is. Yeah, it could be. There's a chance that there's two people. There's person A and person B. There's definitely going to be someone, and we can't say anything. So it's a bit of a surprise, that one. Hopefully it'll pay off. Yeah. So thanks everyone. I have got no idea how to run the end cycles, so we might not get them this week, but I'm going to have a look. I'm going to have a look here. Hang on. I found overlays.
Oh, okay.
So like coming up in a couple of weeks, I don't know when it is, but we've got Starsky Carr. Yeah. We've got Gaz coming on. He'll be talking about his stuff, and especially those new little modular things he's come up with. Michael Whalen, this is Dead Pro, this, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Michael Whalen's on. He's got a new album out, so we want to hear all about that. It's really good as well, as you'd expect from Michael. We'll have the usual. I don't know how to turn these off now. Do you press them again? Yeah. We'll have the usual regular guests. Special guests. It's been wonderful again. And how do you turn on these titles, Robbie? Send me a message. Yeah. And there are no end titles. I don't know. I think he just does them live on the actual thing. Oh, hang on. I found it.